Welcome to Stronger. Appropriate name for what we covered on the weekend.
Yeah.
And God is constantly wanting to build strength into our lives. One of the ways he does that is through ravines. It's worth diving deeper on these because you're going to go through many ravines in life. Some for doing the right thing, some the wrong thing. Doesn't really matter. They have great value. We've got some questions to fly here. We're going to the question discussion format. And so we've got Faye, we've got Ange. Good to see you, ladies. I don't want to start a fight, but whoever can go first.
It's me. No,
Go right ahead.
I guess one question I had when listening to the sermon this week was, is it possible to live our lives in such a way where we're, I guess, better prepared for the ravines, where we're not hitting such low lows or having such an extreme reaction? Can we better prepare our lives for those?
Yeah, I'm going to again say yes and no on this.
Okay.
So let's work it from the no. You weren't really asking this, but I want to make this point on that question, that many people try to live their lives to just erase ravines.
Right.
That I'm not going to have one.
Yeah.
I always get a kick out of young marrieds. Usually in the engagement process, there's usually this phase where the honeymoon phase, right? Where you're basically in a place where we won't have fights.
Yeah.
And we're not going to have these kinds of things happen in our relationship.
Right.
In fact, the goal of your relationship means that you must have fights.
Yes.
And the goal of life being strength, the goal of life being prepared, the goal of life being dependence on God from the Christian point of view.
Yeah.
The goal of life, forward risk and challenge. We certainly need strength, and we need to have it laid into us. So you can't avoid ravines.
Okay.
And even deciding depth of ravines, no, that's not totally in your control, because often we're in there with other people.
Right.
Right? You're in there with circumstances beyond your control.
Right.
You may have done the right thing in the marriage and end up in a ravine, but you did the right thing.
Right.
And now God's going to do his deepest work in you and hopefully the other person.
Yeah.
But the idea being this, that ravines need an attitude that says, this is an opportunity. This is something that I can drive deep.
Right.
And I can increase my dependence on God. And in a way that, because I'm cut off. That's what Kerith means, Kerith ravine. I'm cut off. And so there is, the resource is dwindling. The resources, I'm put in this hidden place. I'm in obscurity.
Right.
I'm out here on the backside of this desert in a deep ravine, hiding, in essence.
Right.
And that's a place where God can do his best work in you. And it doesn't come about when you got all of the distractions of life.
That's true.
So the ravines are going to come. Sometimes God orients them. Sometimes God allows them.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to it's all on you, but God's going to still be a part of that process saying, do you want to make this work for the good?
Right. So it's not a punishment. Like, I think it can feel like a punishment,
Definitely.
but I'm getting from this is not a punishment, these ravines.
No, you're a parent. You're a parent.
Yeah.
Your children are going to put themselves in some ravines.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, you're not even to punish your children. What are you to do?
Right.
Discipline.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. More or less, it's not exacting your pound of flesh. What it is you are using the opportunity to grow the person.
Right.
Your end game is growth.
Yeah.
Not even just change of practice, it's growth. And if you don't get that goal right, you'll do your discipline wrong in your home. Well, if you don't get that right in life, you're going to get it, get into some major issues too. So no, it's not punishment. I like to go to Peter to illustrate some of these, because this poor man, he had an amazing ministry, and he's one of our foundations, for the church. But man, God put him in such a exposed story, he told the ins and outs. So here's this guy, he's denying Jesus, right? And he puts himself in a ravine by his attitude of pride in that I've got great strength, and he finds out how weak he really is, right? And you don't see Jesus then punishing Peter.
No.
You see Peter punishing Peter.
Yeah.
You see circumstances punishing Peter.
Yeah.
But you don't see Jesus punishing Peter.
That's right.
In fact, it's days later that you see Jesus restoring Peter.
Right.
Right? And that's a beautiful thing.
It is.
And when you get put in ravines, either by your own choice or God originated or whatever, like, you can look to Jesus as the restorative element, and he wants to use the ravine. So you have to take the right attitude, and if you're going in, I'm being punished, then frankly, you're not going to do well in any ravines.
Yeah.
If you're going to go in and it's discipline and you get that, but it's something that's going to make you stronger, you see this as an opportunity to grow.
Right.
And so very important for us to, in fact, understand that, Ange. There is no punishment involved with God on the ravines that we're going to go through. That you can do the right thing and end up in the ravine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Peter didn't do the right thing. He ends up in a ravine. Elijah does the right thing. He ends up in a ravine. So these are the kinds of things. The ravines are going to come.
Yeah.
They're not punishment.
Yeah.
They're great opportunities. You can learn greater dependence on God.
Yeah.
He can do things in your heart that you cannot do at any other time.
Absolutely. The goal is not to avoid them.
Oh my gosh, no.
Yeah, it's actually kind of exciting if you think about it, like what kind of growth and development is going to be on the other side of that when you
Yes.
go into them, hey? Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think once your attitude changes towards
Right.
it,
Yeah.
then you can engage it from your whole person.
Right.
You're not in a fighting against the ravine. Now the ravine's not in charge, see.
Right.
And God's in charge. God's purpose is in charge when you take that right attitude. If you don't, well, the ravine's in charge, and man, it's just going to get darker and darker for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
You got to follow up?
Yeah. So my question, so sometimes these ravines aren't quick, they're not in and out. And so when you're in a ravine and it's just seemed like the longest night, what or how do we kind of get through the feelings of just wanting to throw in the towel?
Yeah, I don't know if you can get rid of the feelings. They're going to happen.
Okay.
You remember Elijah, he even got to the point where he was ready to throw in the towel when, if you know his story later, he's running off to Mount Horeb away from Queen Jezebel, and he's totally depressed, and he's ready to throw in the towel. So what is it that keeps us, though, in there is going to be a very strong, deep faith element, that there's purpose in this, and that there's things that God is at work in. And if I take the right attitude towards it, where it's dependence that I'm building in God, my faith is deep. I'm much more dependent on God now. In Elijah's case, when he did fall into depression later and have this another huge ravine in life, he made some assessments that were wrong. He says, I'm the only one. Right? His whole perspective was gone.
Okay.
And he had lost that, which is very important, that, God's in control.
Yeah.
And Elijah was saying it's just all out of control. When we start to feel that,
Okay, yeah.
the feelings are going to take over, the ravine's taking over. And God wants to change your perspective and say, no, come on back here.
Yeah.
Elijah, just come on back here.
Yeah.
It's okay, I've got this. And I've got a plan, and here's what I want you to do. And he gives clear instructions from that point on. So you can't get rid of the feelings of it.
Okay.
But what you can do is keep yourself on track and in a healthy position with it by really surrendering, letting God work in you. Another way that I would really encourage with this is, if you're really feeling feelings of depression and those kinds of things, as you've been in it so long, other people and their faith can be of great encouragement, but be careful with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the wrong people can really get you in trouble at that time.
Right.
But people that are going to encourage you but not fix
Yeah.
Right.
are really important at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The feelings, it's going to come.
Yeah.
There's going to be days, wow, I'm eating leftovers and daylight doesn't come until around noon, and this is not a nice place.
Yeah. Yeah. I've certainly had those feelings that you talked about of going to the extreme worst case scenario, but yeah, bringing it back, reining it back in to what God's going to do and trusting that he's in control.
That's a tough thing to do, but that's how he deepens us. When that's happening, you actually are in a deepening challenge. So when I'm getting these feelings that are really strong about throwing the towel and give up, which is my Monday, every Monday, okay. So when I get into those feelings like that and you want to give up and throw it all in, I know that it's that time that I need to deepen my dependence, and that's what God is prodding in me and saying, "Just depend on me.
Okay.
Depend on me. It's my work. Your perspective's never going to be 100%, Nelson. You're never going to see it exactly how it is. I'm doing so much more and so much bigger than you can imagine."
Yeah.
And so once I get myself turned around back into that kind of thinking with God and that kind of perspective with God, the feelings don't have the power.
Right.
Does that help?
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Okay, so for you right now, you might be lost in some feelings right now. We all get there. Turn it around. These ravines are not punishment. God is not punishing you. Life will. It'll punish you. You'll punish yourself.
Yeah.
But in essence, God doesn't. He's looking to build you stronger for the next phase of your journey, and he's looking to actually teach you how to depend on him more. So you got to take the opportunity here when you're in these ravines, and you got to really trust God and walk it out and know that he's in control and he's going to bring you out of this. And God's he's going to be restoring you. Trust him for that day. Know he's working towards that day, and he's bringing you into a stronger position. Get fear out of the driver's seat. Get ravine out of determining, your daily strength, and instead depend, lean into, let God do his deeper work in you. God bless.